Hi Sticky Buns, I hope you're all doing well. I sometimes ask my clients whereabouts they are on their spiritual journey because if they are partaking in any kind of committed or regular spiritual practice, I often feel it's important with regard to the advice that I give them and how we can kind of tie their spiritual journey into that I know whereabouts they are. And I find the answers that people give very illuminating, and I find it quite inspiring how in touch people are with the times that they are stagnating on their spiritual journey, the times where they feel that they do need more of a challenge or they do need to leave the comfort zone, and then those times where they are kind of on the climb or experiencing vast reams of illuminations and experiencing true spiritual evolution or the deepening of the spiritual connection. And I think it's really interesting to hear about those parts of people's journeys. And I was wondering what you guys feel about your own spiritual journeys at the moment. Whereabouts are they? Are they on the climb? Do you feel like you've reached some kind of crossroads? Do you feel as though you are now truly comfortable in your spiritual practice in comparison to where you were before? For me personally, I feel like spirituality came back and hit me between the eyes in a very big way a couple of years ago. I have been consciously very spiritual since I was 12 years old. I mean, younger than that, I can definitely say that there was a great deal of evidence that I would grow up to be a spiritually centered person and that I would be interested in that kind of thing. But I could actually put a voice to it myself in my own words by the time I was 12. I kind of knew that these things interested me and that I had some kind of spiritual identity with which I was looking to get in touch. So it's been a very interesting and long journey for me. I'm almost 30 now. So, there have been ups and downs and very interesting experiences which have led me to this point. And for a few years back there, I definitely did go through some kind of atheism slash nihilism and some feelings of being disconnected from paganism and that kind of thing. And I did kind of leave things aside for a very long time. I didn't recognise the 8 points of the Wheel of the Year. I didn't do anything to celebrate. I didn't do a ritual or anything of that nature. It was very much about kind of still experiencing those little transpersonal moments where I did feel a connection to the all, because there's no real way for me to get rid of that. It's always been with me. But not really doing anything to recognise it, not doing anything in terms of reverence, not really doing any studying with regard to spirituality. So it really was a good 2 years that I had off, I would say. And of course, I think a great many people who go through a hiatus or a step back from their spiritual journey would say that it was because things got out of hand in the outer world. Things were too much to deal with in the outer world. There was a lot of chaos, or there was a big bout of depression, or something kind of changed unexpectedly and it completely jarred them. And they kind of felt as though spirituality just couldn't be central. Or maybe they even tried to keep it central, but it just wouldn't work. Often a lot of your energy is expended on trying to lay fresh foundations in the outer world after something unexpected has occurred, after your life has changed. And so spirituality has to take a back seat in any pragmatic or practical sense. And that's really what happened for me. I went through a few things that were highly unexpected. My life changed in a few different ways. A very important central relationship to my life, which lasted for almost 4 years, 5 years if you include the friendship before that, it ended abruptly and in quite a surprising and unpleasant way. And after that, I did a bit of travelling. I went abroad, and I was kind of just trying to work out how and where to lay foundations next. And it was really only 2 years ago that I got back on track with the practice of my spirituality after that time. And I'm really glad actually that I had that hiatus and I had that chance to think about where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do next. And it surprised me how much I'd actually remembered and how much I'd retained. Even the words I used to use in ritual, I still remembered them when I came back to doing ritual. But I also felt a greater sense of freedom, even though I feel that I've always been spiritually very free and very liberated because of the way I was raised and because of the fact that I was encouraged to find my own way and do my own thing in spirituality, which is so great and which I'm aware that a lot of people have not had the privilege of experiencing in their own upbringing. A lot of people feel very guilty about trying to design their own practice. A lot of people feel tied to tradition, or they feel as though it's very difficult to move on from the religion that they were actively brought up with, and maybe they feel guilt about that. There's some pressure, there's this feeling of being burdened, maybe not knowing who to tell. And I really sympathise with people that are going through those difficulties, because spirituality is so central to my life, and I don't know what I would do or how I would cope. If I felt that I wasn't allowed to express that, and if I felt that I had to hide it away, or that it was something that wasn't due me or wouldn't be accepted. So I really sympathise with those people. And I also empathise a great deal with people who are on some kind of reluctant spiritual hiatus, one that they didn't really ask for and one that they didn't expect, but one which is occurring nonetheless, either because of factors in outer life or because there's a confusion about where to go next. Maybe people that adopted a label and now aren't really sure whether or not that label fits. Those kinds of things can be quite trying, and it's very difficult to actually accept what's going on and actually work out ways to push through it and actually challenge the comfort zone and understand that spirituality is your domain, it's your kingdom, and you can knock it down and build it up again from the ground if that is what needs to happen. And you can kind of look at your spiritual pathway from where you are now with a fresh perspective and with the knowledge that perhaps something has shifted, perhaps something has evolved, and perhaps your spirituality needs to be moulded and shaped in accordance with that, or in accordance with your new realizations, or in accordance with your new inspirations. And, you know, that's why I enjoy the mutual encouragement that I get from a lot of the spiritual community on YouTube. And it's something that's really given me even more confidence and given me more insight and understanding into other people's journeys and how they feel about that. So that's been a really enjoyable thing for me. So I was really just wondering whereabouts you feel you are in your spiritual journey. I feel that I have probably the most confidence and the most inspiration and the most joy in my spirituality now than I ever have done in my entire life. It's really gotten to the point that I always hoped and dreamed that it would now. It's gotten to this incredible stage, and it's very enlivening and very invigorating. But, you know, there have been times where I've been unsure, and there have been times where I've cut off, or I felt like I've defected from something which is actually an intrinsic part of me, and I've kind of been trying to run from it, and I'm not really sure why I wanted to run from it, and I wasn't sure at the time. It was just one of those things. So I have been in those places too, and I have felt a certain level of restriction as well when I was younger, and I know I've talked about this on the channel before. I did feel as though there was kind of no way for me to access texts or dialogue with regard to the kind of magic that I wanted to do and the kind of ritual that I wanted to engage in. So even though I've always been a bit of a loner, spiritually speaking, and I've always been a maverick, I still felt that there was a loss of connection to any kind of tribe. And I still felt when I was much younger, certainly, and I hadn't perhaps thought of getting so intimately attached to any kind of tribe on the internet, or maybe I was looking in the wrong places. I didn't really know what I was looking for. I kind of felt that there was that restriction, and there was that sense that Wicca didn't fit me, but I wasn't really sure what fit me, and I wasn't really sure if it mattered whether or not something fit me, and it was all a bit confusing. So I've experienced those parts of the spiritual journey too. And one thing that's really happened for me in my experience with the Four Queens is that I've been kind of encouraged to come out of my comfort zone and talk more about my spiritual practice and about my views and thoughts on magic and ritual in general and specific to me. And that's something that's been interesting because it is something that I have been resisting. And I partly resisted that because I did actually start talking about my personal take on magic and some of the things that I do in magical practice. I did start talking about that on the channel, and then for some reason it felt unsafe, as though I'd actually opened up too much and I'd moved myself into a state of vulnerability that didn't quite feel right. And I couldn't really think exactly why, but I knew that something was kind of wrong in the way I was feeling. And so I kind of stopped that for a while and had to kind of step back and rethink. And I think a lot of people that make any kind of content online, whether it's a blog, whether it's YouTube, anything which kind of puts them out there, I think they will say the same thing, that at one point or another they have had to reassess their boundaries and try and work out why something doesn't feel right to talk about, and why certain things may need to be held back. So I've done that. And it's really interesting to me, in fact, that a great many people still kind of leave comments beneath my videos or message me privately asking me for explanations on things to do with chaos magic, to explain what chaos magic is, what a chaos witch is, what exactly it is that I believe as a chaos witch, and just really asking for more information. And so far I suppose I've been reasonably cagey about going into anything that could look like teaching or guidance, because I'm not sure I could do it justice. and I certainly wouldn't want to mentor somebody entirely through chaos magic as a concept and as a system if they hadn't first read, you know, some of the texts that are important that I have recommended before. But one thing that I realised about this resistance that I have to discussing my own path and to discussing my own ideas on the concepts of magic and ritual is that really I'm standing in my own way. These are things that I'm very passionate about and actually would quite enjoy talking about. And I'm kind of not really sure at this point why, if I'm being consistently asked to discuss those things, why I'm holding back on them. It kind of doesn't seem to make much sense, and it does seem as though Spirit is calling me to open up more about chaos magic, to explain it, and to discuss more about, you know, other wider subjects like freedom in spirituality and creativity in spirituality. But certainly I would like to talk more about the craft on the channel, so there are going to be some changes with regard to the content that I'm making. And nothing is going to be subtracted. I'm still going to be talking about tarot because I can't help it. It's a disease for which they have not found a cure, and if they found one, I wouldn't take it. So there's still going to be that, and of course I will still talk about certain aspects of self-development and emotional healing which are very close to my heart. I know a lot of you out there that watch my channel know why that is, and understand the struggles that I've been through because I have spoken about them in former videos. And as a result of that, I really do feel that there are certain subjects with regard to emotional healing, certainly, that will never get old and will never get boring for me. And I always wish to impart some of the things that I recognised and realised during my own journey of healing for anybody out there who needs words of comfort and love and support. So I will always be making videos of that nature. But I will also branch out, I think, and I think I will talk about the key principles of chaos magic, and I will explain certain things about chaos magic as well as I can. And if I do it rather ham-fistedly, I can only apologise, but I will try to be as graceful with regard to the teaching aspect of the chaos magic videos as I possibly can. And I will certainly be opening up more of my own practice and trying to lend some inspiration and lend some motivation potentially to a lot of you people who have done the same for me, who have engaged in dialogue with me and interacted with me and made videos that have inspired me, and just supported me really on my journey in one way or another. I truly appreciate you for it, and I thank you for it. And I really hope that as I open up with these new subjects and I do talk more about the craft, that it is something that people will find helpful and useful. And I would love to know whereabouts you feel you are on your spiritual journey right now, and how it's going for you, and how you hope that it will progress, and potentially also, you know, where you've been in the past on your spiritual journey. It would really be interesting to me, because it's something that I consistently need to ask people as I guide them and work with them and journey with them. And so it's something that has become so interesting for me. And you know, I do have friends in my quote-unquote real life that are spiritual, but certainly not in as great a number as with my online tribe, which I'm blessed and fortunate enough to find is consistently growing. And there's so many more people coming into my life and coming into my sphere that are really inspiring me and just making me feel at home. So I would love to know, you know, how things are going for you. And other than that, much love and welcome to the beginning of April and the coming of the warmer months for many of us. I hope that you find that inspiring and exciting, and that so many of you can spend a little bit more time outdoors for longer and later into the evening and just enjoy communing with the green places. Much love. Blessed be.